Hey everyone, right, so this is definitely now my last video today. Um, it's going to be really short as well, but tomorrow I'm going to start going through the unsealed documents more properly. For now, I just want to kind of get through in separate stages everything that just these two filings, this one in front of me and the one about the deleting the messages, just get through what they have to kind of reveal to us. So there is one more thing in this message, and this is the one where we're talking about Ryan Reynolds taking over the cut and everything and making the decisions. And again, it's this message between Ange Giannetti where she is copied and pasted a message from Tom Rothman, who is the chairman of Sony. And just to remind everyone, and for those who may not have seen previous videos where I've mentioned this, Tom Rothman is the same chair of Sony that Matt and Lucy Damon and Colleen Hoover all contacted to try to pressurize into greenlighting Blake's cut of the movie, and in violation of Justin's contractually agreed bake-off. They wanted him to just say, hey, we don't even need to have a bake-off, we're going to go with Blake's cut. Right, and she had Matt and Lucy Damon and Colleen Hoover contact Tom Rothman to do that. Now, this message also tells us, as we know from the video yesterday, that when they say she wants this and she wants that, they really meant Blake. They really meant Ryan, because his name is in brackets next to the word she. But there is something else, and it's this bottom line here, which I find fascinating. I don't know if I can I? No, I can't highlight it. Anyway, so it's that line at the top, and it says, she and Ryan, Blake and Ryan, calling you tomorrow to share with you how crucial Dallas screening is. The Dallas screening is obviously her, where she literally admits that she stole the video, the raw footage of the film, took it on a hard drive, on a plane, to Dallas against the wishes of the studios. I don't know whether Tom Rothman actually signed off on that, by the way, because it sounds like they were going to have a conversation to try and convince him. But whether he actually signed off on it, I don't know. I actually got the impression he didn't, because Lively said, that she literally kind of hijacked it and took it on the plane with her. Anyway, so why does my title say that this is another page from the Ryan Reynolds playbook? Well, the fact that she did this, right, this way, from the moment I read it in Wayfarer's complaint, I was like, oh, this is Ryan Reynolds. This has got his fingerprints all over it. And see, the problem is, right, is once Lively has shown her cut to 3,000 members of the public, it is very hard to then pull back and go with someone else's cut, which is exactly why she did it. And then if people, let's just say people like it, right? And bear in mind, they've got nothing to compare it to, because if they compared it, well, we already know Justin's scores higher. And Sony were aware of that. So the next best thing Blake Lively could do to cement her cut of the film being used was to take it and show it to the public anyway. And that way then everyone's stuck with it, because 3,000 people is not a small number of people, by the way. They have all seen this cut and been told this is the film. So you can't walk that back then. And immediately when I read that, I was like, ooh, we have we've had similar situation there before from Ryan Reynolds, actually, involving a Ryan Reynolds film. Footage of a film got leaked, and then the studio got pressured into making the film. Worked out very successfully as well. It was Deadpool. And let me just go down here, because uh who was the person who was not wanting to make Deadpool and Wolverine and holding up the film? I can't, ugh, I cannot, highlight, which is annoying. If I make this bigger. Says here, one of the big sticking points seemingly was Tom Rothman. Then he was Fox's chairman. He's obviously now Sony's. He'd already made all kinds of stipulations and caveats about making it an R-rated superhero film, including a reduced budget. According to, this is Tim Miller talking now. According to Miller, he originally wanted it to be somewhere in the region of 40 million. And when he read Reese and Wernick's script, Rothman said, "No, we don't get it." According to Miller, "I love your passion, but I don't care for the script." So it was actually Tom Rothman, same guy, who said no to making Deadpool initially. And then once the footage got leaked, there was enough pressure then. The feedback was huge, and the pressure was, you know, we need to make this movie, and it did very, very well. Okay. And for a long time, there was a bit of, we all had a feeling it was Ryan Reynolds who'd leaked that movie, but there was never really any confirmation, um, until recently, until as recently as, you know, sort of 6 months or so ago, when he finally admitted that he leaked the original Deadpool footage. So I can understand in a way, right? Because with Deadpool, it worked out incredibly well, right? And no one was getting hurt, right? The people who made the movie wanted to make that movie. This was not the same situation where they were literally stealing someone else's movie and, trying to push someone else's cut over and above what the test audiences had said they prefer, over and above the contractual rights of Justin Baldoni. The way they used the whole leak process in the case of It Ends With Us was entirely different. It was far more malicious, I would say. It was really malicious. And it was because Blake Lively was just not getting her way. So she strong-armed her way, or albeit by proxy through her husband. So I've had people say to me, right, because obviously we can't resurrect the claims that were thrown out, right? I mean, Wayfarer has a right of appeal, but you can't just go and resurrect the claims for breach of contract against Ryan Reynolds. Insofar as his contract with WME, because that's what the causes of actions were brought for. They were not brought against Sony, and I think Wayfarer has a absolutely brilliant case to pursue Sony. Personally, I think they should go after Sony. Whether they will or not is another thing. But I also think that they have Ryan Reynolds on the hook for interference of Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer's contract, and It Ends With Us movies contract with Sony. So that's just my thoughts, but that's it for me. I will properly go through the unsealed documents in more depth. The other thing is I'm not going to say what yet, but I'm working on two incredibly big projects, which I'll probably go and do a video on maybe in the middle of the trial or just after the trial, because I don't want to say or do anything that could have an effect on the trial. I know that sounds a bit cryptic, and I don't mean it to be, but I am actually working on a couple of things. So I'll see. I also want to see whether it produces any results. But that's all I'm going to say. So, but it is incredibly exciting. So, okay, guys, let me know what you think in the comments.